25. Alaric the Visigoth. Alaric was a Visigoth king who had the distinction of being the one who sacked Rome. Following the sack of Rome, Alaric led his troops to South Campania, taking Nola and Capua along the way. Alaric headed toward the Roman province of Africa, but a storm wrecked his ships, temporarily blocking his crossing. 24. Count Roland. Roland was a great French warrior and medieval folk hero who was immortalized in the poem Chanson de Roland, written sometime during the 11th and 12th centuries. Historically, Count Roland was Charlemagne's commander of the Breton border and his very best warrior. 23. Horatius Cocles. Horatius Cocles was a legendary Roman hero who defended the bridge across the Tiber when the city was attacked by the Etruscans. We could write pages inspired by his achievements on the battlefield, but to make a long story short, just keep in mind that Horatius lost an eye in battle and continued fighting like a beast. 22. Prince Rupert of the Rhine. Despite Prince Rupert looking like a softie and coming from a ridiculously rich family, the man was really ambitious. By age 14, the German prince had already joined the military and went on to have a very diverse, colorful career, though he is most known for commanding the Royalist cavalry during the English Civil War. 21. Vercingetorix. Revered in France as its first national hero, Vercingetorix managed to unite several sovereign Celtic tribes to do battle against the Romans. He battled valiantly and ferociously to keep the Roman army from overrunning Gaul, as France was then called. His troops were eventually defeated at Alesia. 20. William Wallace. William Wallace became famous worldwide thanks to Mel Gibson's Braveheart, but those who know European history are already familiar with this Scotsman's greatness. Wallace is considered one of the most significant Scottish national heroes for fighting to his death in order to save Scotland from English rule. 19. Basil II, the Bulgar-Slayer. Basil, the Bulgar-Slayer, was one of the most brutal, ruthless emperors in history. He was a Byzantine emperor of Greek origin and ruled the vast Byzantine Empire for nearly 50 years. At his death, the empire stretched from southern Italy to the Caucasus and from the Danube to the borders of Palestine. 18. Attila the Hun. Attila the Hun was born in what is today Hungary and became one of the most violent and merciless rulers of the area. He was notorious for his fierce gaze, and according to historian Edward Gibbon, he frequently rolled his eyes as if in pleasure at the terror he inspired. 17. Yue Fei. During a 25-year military career, Yue Fei fought in 126 battles and never lost a single encounter. Furthermore, he rose through the ranks from private to overall commander of the imperial forces, invented many martial arts styles, and wrote a bunch of epic poetry about how he was going to kick his enemies, 16. Eric Bloodaxe. Eric Bloodaxe was a Norwegian prince and the last independent king of York. He became king of the Northumbrians twice, in 947 and 952. He is considered one of the most legendary names in Viking history thanks to his incredible skill and bravery on the battlefield. 15. Arminius. Arminius was a German chief during the early part of the 1st century CE, and is remembered for being a brutal warrior who gave the Romans the beating of a lifetime at the Battle of Teutoburg Forest, where he literally destroyed 3 Roman legions and their auxiliaries. 14. Miltiades. According to the historian Herodotus, the sacrifice of King Leonidas and the 300 brave Spartans wouldn't mean much if it wasn't for Miltiades. The brilliant Athenian military strategist and statesman destroyed the Persian fleet and forced the most powerful empire in the world, at that time anyways, to retreat at the Battle of Marathon. 13. Vlad the Impaler. Very few people in history have cast more terror into the human heart than Vlad the Impaler, or as he's better known, Dracula. The man who became a legend and regarded as the Lord of Darkness was actually a real person, and for that matter, a hell of a warrior. 12. Sun Tzu. Skilled and experienced in warfare matters, Sun Tzu was a military specialist active during the turbulent late Zhou dynasty. However, he became a legend for writing about Chinese military strategy and martial arts in The Art of War, a book that continues to have an immense impact on both Asian and Western culture. 11. Scipio Africanus. Scipio Africanus was one of the most capable and successful Roman commanders in history and the one who defeated Hannibal at the Battle of Zama in the Second Punic War. 10. Spartacus. undoubtedly the most famous and skilled gladiator who ever lived. Spartacus was one of the slave leaders in the Third Servile War, a major slave uprising against the Roman Republic. No other individual terrorized the powerful republic the way he did. 9. Xiahou Dun. Xiahou Dun offered his services as military general to warlord Cao in the late Eastern Han dynasty and became a legend when during a battle he was hit by a stray arrow and lost his left eye. In front of his amazed soldiers and enemies alike, he pulled out the arrow and swallowed his own eyeball. 8. Hannibal Barca. Born in Carthage in 247 BC, Hannibal was one of the greatest generals and military leaders of the ancient world and a brilliant strategist who developed tactics of outflanking and surrounding the enemy with the combined forces of infantry and cavalry. His wars with the Roman Empire were some of the most epic of all antiquity. 7. Pyrrhus of Epirus. Pyrrhus of Epirus was king of the Greek Molossians and the first and only threat to Rome during its prime at the beginning of the empire. Hannibal Barca considered him the best general and the greatest warrior king to ever live. Some of his battles were so bloody that they gave rise to the term Pyrrhic victory, an expression still in use today, especially in sports and politics. 6. Richard the Lionheart. Richard, later known as Lionheart, was king of England and famous for his exploits in the Third Crusade. He is described as an extremely skilled warrior who showed no mercy to his enemies, with his most famous attribute being courage and daring. 5. Miyamoto Musashi. Musashi was a skillful Japanese swordsman and an invincible Ronin. He became a legend mainly because of his remarkable swordsmanship in numerous duels from the age of 13. He was the founder of the Hayoyo Nichen Ikiryu or Nitin Ryu style of swordsmanship. I probably butchered that and I apologize. In fact, many historians and experts consider him the greatest swordsman who ever lived. 4. Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar is arguably the most famous and successful Roman statesman and general in history. He was the one who led Rome's army in numerous victorious battles that expanded its territory. 3. Leonidas of Sparta. Leonidas I was one of the two kings of Sparta during the Greco-Persian Wars and the leader of one of the most ferocious military units in history, the 300 Spartan hoplites. Rumor has it that during the end of the Battle of Thermopylae, he remained alone, fighting against hundreds of thousands of Persian soldiers before he was killed. 2. Genghis Khan. The Mongol destroyer, as he's known, set in motion the conquest of a quarter of the world's population and is widely considered one of the greatest vanquishers of all time. His people believed that he was the greatest man of all time and that he was sent from heaven. And 1. Alexander the Great. Though he died at age 33, the famous Greek king managed to conquer most of the then known world, and this is the reason why most historians consider him the greatest general who ever lived. He remained undefeated and took over every major kingdom of his day, such as Persia, India, and Egypt, among others, and he was the first king to spread Greek and thus Western civilization to other parts of the world. Liking our lists? Be sure to subscribe by pressing the button at the top corner of your screen. And if you're still itching for more awesome lists, click on these nifty thumbnails created by yours truly, and be sure to show us some love by liking, sharing, and commenting.